My name is Arin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. Welcome back to another episode of Life Without Struggle. My name is Arin Lindauer, and super excited to dig into a really timely topic. And I hope this topic can really hit home for you personally, and you can take some tangible steps and put them into place. Because the topic I'm going to go into here today is how to conquer that feeling of overwhelm and kickstart better health, meaning taking care of yourself. But I think so many times we can feel so overwhelmed. We've got so many things going on, and taking care of ourselves, it kind of just gets put on the backside. So today we're going to dig into this. And again, I want to give you here's what to do. Here's what I personally do, and see if it can help. So why the heck would I even talk about this topic, right? And honestly, I get a lot of my content, my conversations from how I personally feel, surprise, right? And also from just talking with women day after day, week after week, and just this feeling of they feel like they need an overhaul to their life. They're so overwhelmed by all the things that they feel pressured that they've got to do or keep up with. And so that's where I wanted to come with today's message, is really figuring out, hey, how do I get rid of this feeling that's not serving me? And then how do I get moving forward and moving powerfully forward towards what it is that I want? So number one, this is for the woman who is feeling stuck, like you feel like nothing can go right, and you just feel defeated, feel frustrated, and you keep questioning yourself, like, am I doing things right? Do I know what I'm doing? And what you've got to do is really pull yourself out of this space and decide what direction you truly want to go, because this is dangerous. This is a dangerous space to be in. Spiral and spiral and spiral. And pretty soon this turns into a life. This turns into I'm a depressed person. This turns into just not going anywhere that you desired to go. And we just simply kind of throw our hands in the air and say, well, it is what it is, right? And so this is where I want to come with this topic, is for those women who are feeling stuck and they know they want more out of their life, but they're like, man, I'll get my bearings, I'll get going, and then life hits me again. I get my bearings, I get going, and then life hits you again. This message is for you. Let's get you out of this repetitive looping cycle. So I created this message to help gain control, get control back in your life, and move powerfully towards what it is that you actually want and desire. So let's dive in. This is going to be pretty heavy, but we're gonna work through this, and this is going to help you really take control in what it is that you want and you desire. So I'm going to take you through what I believe to be the steps that it's going to take to feel like not that you had to overhaul, but that you don't have to feel overwhelmed because you have a plan. You know what you're doing. So number one, the first thing that I'm going to take you through is how to assess what's actually going on in your life. The second thing we're going to do is, what do you want? Like, what are the goals that you desire? And I'm going to ask you some pretty cool questions so that you can really take this and run with it and be crystal clear. This right here is a space that I see a lot of women are not clear on. And then step 3 is going to be asking some really tough questions. So definitely going to be putting on my mean coach pants, and I'm going to lead you through some really powerful questions that are really going to change the trajectory of your life. And I don't say that lightly. That's a very important message, that to understand that you will continue to stay stuck unless you actually do something about it and ask yourself the hard questions. Step 4 is we've got to have a plan. What does that plan need to look like? And then last but not least, how do you get accountability and support towards what it is that you want to do? So let's step into number 1. Number 1 is assessing. And you may be saying, well, Arin, why the heck would I need to assess? Like, I just want to move forward. This is my goals. Well, number 1, we need to take inventory of where are we today? What is currently not working? What is currently working for us? For so many women, they will say, oh, I just need an overhaul. And I'm like, I doubt it. And this is where we don't give ourselves enough credit that we're not a train wreck. We're not a hot mess. We just have had a few bad days and it feels like we need an overhaul, or it's been a bad season, right? So what we need to do is we need to really assess where things are. So the first place that I would truly look into is, how is your overall health? Like, if you were bird's eye view looking down and you asked yourself objectively, how is your health? Want to ask yourself, like, okay, I feel good most days. I am full of energy. I have minimal risk factors for disease. Then I would say, hey, your overall health is like in a really, really good space. So, okay, cool. That's a good one. Or if you've got high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, you don't have energy, you can barely get out of bed, I'm going to say, hey, your overall health is not in a good space. And it's just important for awareness to understand this. The other thing that I would dig into is, how is your nutrition? So, like, if your nutrition is rocking, you're eating whole, real foods, you always know what to eat, and you love to just fuel your body more for performance and the desired outcome of how you feel. If your nutrition is always, through a drive-through, you never know what your next meal is going to be, you eat ultra processed foods or foods out of a box all the time, then yeah, that one's going to need some work. Another area that I would lean into is, what is your movement like? Are you hitting 10,000 steps every single day, whether it's rain or shine? Or are you like, gosh, I need to go for a walk, yet you never get those steps in? Another space is exercise. Are you consistently doing a progressive resistance training program? If you're not, that's something that we need to get you into. Every single woman needs to resistance train in some capacity in her life. Our days are not labor intensive enough that we need to have some type of stimulus. This is only going to help you combat osteoarthritis or osteoporosis. It's also going to help you combat any diseases. It's going to help with insulin sensitivity. I mean, there's too many benefits, let alone being strong, the desired look, the tone, the sculpting. Another area to really lean into is, how is your sleep? Are you getting 7 to 9 hours? Are you waking up feeling rested? Are you sick, maybe 1, maybe 2 times a year? If that's the case, your sleep is totally on point. If it's not, then that's another area that we want to lean into. And then, how's your hydration? Like, optimal hydration would be that you're drinking well over 100 ounces of water. And you're probably going to want to supplement with some type of electrolyte or put even some salt into your water, especially if you are consuming that much. Just a recommendation that I personally do with consuming that much water. So, are you always thirsty? Do you always have a bottled water with you? Are you consuming good filtered water? Those are all things to really consider. So that is the first step. And you may need to, rewind, go back to that. But it's really important to assess, where am I today? Because you may have a hydration totally on point. Cool. Take that off of the list of things to focus on. Maybe sleep. Maybe really good at like putting yourself to bed, or like you're asleep before the head hits the pillow, but you get 7 to 9 hours. Then cool. that one's off the plate. I think mentally for most women, when we know that like, okay, I only got to focus on one or two things, it's so much easier and less overwhelming than just feeling like, well, everything sucks. And here's the thing, if you're saying everything sucks, you're not taking into account the goodness that's going on in your world. If we're constantly Debbie Downer, if we're constantly just, looking at the negative side of things, to help you reframe the thoughts. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to go into understanding, hey, what do you really want? And this can be a really challenging conversation for most. Even I was posed this question by my coach, and I struggled. I struggled for a while, and I got very emotional about struggling on not knowing what I wanted. I had set a really big goal, accomplished it, and then it was like, okay, now what, right? And I think that can happen with a lot of us. We maybe hit a certain benchmark. We get married, we have kids, maybe we got the job that we had always wanted, and then it's like, okay, now. And it's very hard because it's like, well, I've done all the things. Like, what else could I possibly do? And I'm here to share with you, so many of us hold ourselves back. There's so much more that we can do and we can serve and impact that, the second you say, oh, Arin, not me, I'm going to say, hey, girl, yes, you. So let's think about what it is that so what do you want to achieve when it comes to your health and wellness goals? I want you to be as specific as possible, describing every single detail down to how you want to wake up, who's around you, what kind of work do you want to be doing, inspired, are you motivated? How do you want to feel in your own skin? Give specific numbers to maybe your weight on the scale or address clothing size. Then I want you to stretch yourself and into what is it that you actually want. Like for myself personally, I always want to feel good in my own skin. I want to love the way I look in clothes. I want to be able to wear anything that's in my closet and feel confident. And then I love feeling strong. Feeling strong is a really important part of my health, and it takes intentional effort. So really drill down on this. Then we're going to take that another step. So what I want you to ask yourself when you're getting clear around what it is that you desire from your health, this into life goals, career goals, financial goals, but I want you to take it even further, and I want you to ask yourself, what is there to gain by hitting these goals? The reason we want to ask this question is so many times we focus on what we can't have, what we can't do because of the goal. Like, okay, for example, someone wants to lose weight. Well, if all they're focusing on is they can't have pizza, they can't have, alcoholic beverages, they can't go to girls' night, they can't do this, can't do that. Well, guess what? It's not going to work. Like if you're constantly worried about the lack and what you can't have, you're not going to hold out very long. You may hold in for a little bit, but that doesn't keep you motivated. Okay. So we want to focus on what is there to gain by not having pizza every single week, or maybe saying no to a few more adult beverages. When we say no to foods that don't serve us, it's like, man, I'm going to have energy. I'm going to see the scale go down every single week. I'm going to feel really confident because pretty soon I'm going to be 10 pounds down, 20 pounds down, and that's going to help my LDL. That's going to help, there's so many things to gain as a part of taking care of yourself. Too many times we get so focused in on what we have to give up. And let's just be honest, we probably shouldn't have been having that stuff to begin with, or at least not the frequency of it. And we have to detach from this old person that we used to be, person that needs to come out. So again, ask yourself, what is there to gain by hitting these goals? Then step 3, what are you doing? Now, okay, step 3, we are going to dig in. I jumped a little bit here in my content, but step 3 is really, really important. And this is a really tough question to ask yourself. And I'm going to pose it to you should you choose to take this question and run with it. And the question is, what are you doing to not hit the goal? So this is going to take a lot of emotional intelligence. This is going to take a lot of self-awareness and willing to dig in a little bit deeper, but got to understand there are things that you're doing today that are not getting you to your goals. And if we can identify them, change them. If we can identify them, consider another way. But if we're unaware of the things that we're doing, not hit our goal, listen, you're going to continue to just do this cycle over again. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to help you not feel stuck. We're trying to help you align the actions with what it is that you desire, because now you are clear. You are clear on what you want. And this is where overwhelm goes to the wayside, because you're not constantly starting over. You're not starting over every single Monday, because the things that you do day after day, week after week, are adding up to a lifetime of success. So some examples when it comes to your health and considering like what you're not doing, you could not be going to bed early enough, for example. And so what happens when we don't go to bed early? Well, guess what? We start snacking on all the things. Or because of not getting enough sleep the next day, now we're more hungry, and we typically are craving carbs because we want the sugar to help keep us awake because we didn't get enough sleep. So there's another direction I could take this is like, I'm just doing random workouts, or I'm just following this person and seeing what she posts for her workout, and then I'm going to go do that. I've seen so many people just kind of like poke around when it comes to resistance training, and they really don't know what they're doing. And I will be genuine, those fitness influencers that you're seeing out there doing the, cute body weight, this or that. And this is not to slam anyone starting out, getting body weight and doing what's appropriate for you. If you've been doing a lot of exercise, you're not seeing the results, it's because you're not putting together a proper program. You don't have the progressiveness that you need and the right strategy when it comes to seeing the actual results that you desire when it comes to your resistance training program. There's a lot of gurus out there that are posting stuff all over the internet, and I just get really frustrated because what she does in her own personal workout is not what she's showing you. Like, let's just be honest. You don't look like that from doing a million bodyweight squats or leg lifts, or I don't even know, some of the abdominal movements that just wrench havoc on your spine, but whatever. So think about this, get pretty deep on this. And the point that we really want to drive home is you are in control. Okay, you are absolutely in control. Know our spots. Typically speaking, I'm talking with a woman and she's talking about really turning her life around and getting her health in order. She knows, oh man, I know I'm eating too much at night, or I don't even plan my food. I'm always in a drive-through. Like, she can tell me, she's being honest, that these are some of my areas. These are things that I'm not doing. And so that way we know where to improve. And it's truly understanding why we do what we do, right? Like, if we're snacking or we always feel hungry, like, is there an old program that maybe isn't serving you? Is there a limiting belief around weight loss? Have you watching someone on a diet? Has your mom always been on a diet? Your grandma, your aunts, all the women around you always on a diet? Well, guess what? You've got a dieter's mentality that, oh, we'll just start again on Monday, right? And so it's important to really identify these things. And then it's important to any program not serving you. And that way we can start getting focused and aligned towards what it is that you actually want. So this is a good thing. It's a really good thing to dig into this, but I can appreciate these questions can get a little uncomfortable. But here's the thing, you get uncomfortable for a second, you got a lifetime of success. So let's get uncomfortable for just a second. Then the next thing that we're going to do is, once you've really assessed and then you decided on what you want, and then you understand some of the spots that we need to improve, then we can go into creating your plan. And this is where, for all my type A driven professional women, like, we like a plan. We like a plan, we like to execute, but it takes doing that work in order to get the right plan in place. And so this is where I get really challenged, because most plans are not complete. Most plans are kind of piecemeal together because you listen to this on the internet, you watch this little video, you listen to a podcast, and you really think that you can put everything together on your own. And so here's where I want to help guide and direct on how to do this, and then we'll pull it all together with the last step here. But so when it comes to your health, have you gotten blood work done? Have you had a physical? Did you get your annual? Have you gotten a mammogram? Do you know what your risk is for disease? Do you know what your chronological age is? Do you know how healthy your aging and longevity is? So when it comes to your health, you want, and from an overall perspective, want to make sure that we have as much data as possible so that we can feel really good that, like, hey, all this stuff is working, and it's working from an even bigger picture, because it's one thing to see it, but it's another thing to know internally what's going on. Other things that I would lean into is your nutrition. Okay, do you know how many calories you should be consuming? Do you know what your macros should look like? Meal prep. Do you have a meal service? Do you know when you'll go get groceries, or where do you get your recipes? Those are all things to help really execute nutrition and execute it well. How about the whole family? Are we cooking meals for each individual? Are we trying to figure out ways? And this is something that I do is, if kids' taste preferences are a little bit different than yours, okay, what do we just need to maybe swap out for them that you can still stay on point, but we're not making every single day? The other one is your movement and activity. Do you wear some type of device that allows you to know how many calories you're burning a day, how many steps you're getting? And here's the thing, if you're going to tell me, well, Arin, I always have my phone on me and my phone gets my steps, that's not very accurate. Okay, it's fine, but it's really nice to have some type of wearable device. There are Fitbits, Garmin watches, you've got Apple watches, you've got Oura rings, that are all really awesome devices, and you can get a lot of these pretty economical. You can also get them as jazzy as you want. But that's really helpful to know how many calories you're burning in a day, what's your sleep look like, what's your recovery. That was one of the most important things for me in getting the Oura ring, was understanding from taking my data, what is my resilience, what is my recovery, and it helps me know when I go to do a workout, hey, don't go PRing today because you're not fully recovered. That data has been so helpful for me. The other thing that I'll tell you is we want to create a plan around exercise. So based on your goals, do you know how to put together a proper progressive resistance training program? Most people, the answer is no. This is not what you went to school for. You don't fully understand what it takes to put together a program. Should you be pushing, pressing, how many sets, how many reps? There's a lot that actually goes into this, or isn't better. So there's a lot of rhyme and reason that goes into workouts, and it's not that workout looks cool, or I'm going to go do this boot camp, or I'm going to get 1,000,000 splat points. Like, that is just overtraining at its finest. Next, we'll look into sleep. So another thing that's great about wearing a trackable device is it will give you a sleep score, and it will help you better understand your sleep habits. I will challenge anyone that the Oura Ring, hands down, gives the most reliable data when it comes to sleep. There's a few other devices and like bed systems, like systems that are in people's beds, and those are pretty on point as well. So you want to understand, like, what do you need in order to get good sleep? You need to take a hot shower, hot bath, wind down sooner rather than later, screen off. Do you need to journal before you go to bed? Do you need to take p.m. before you go to bed? How dark is the room? How cool is the room? I mean, there's a lot of things that really go into getting quality sleep. Just because you have one bad night doesn't mean, your sleep is terrible, right? And I think we put a lot of pressure on sleep too, where, if you have small kids, like sleep is just not going to be perfect for a while. And then it will be. It will get back into a good rhythm. So you want to give yourself grace. And it's also a space that if you can take a nap, something like that, if you didn't get good sleep, it's like give yourself full permission. I personally cannot nap, don't nap, and there's been just a few times where my sleep was so trash that I forced myself to just lay down. Now, I don't know if I actually got into any type of sleep, but if I take a nap, it's a pretty rare occasion. But sleep really is everything, especially in a health and wellness goal. Seeing good weight loss. Then the last one is hydration. So hydration is easy one to do, but not one. So to track this, do you need to have a specific water bottle? Do you need good filtered water? There's a lot of things that go into it. And then another really important space is having good electrolytes, especially if you are drinking a fair amount of water. You want to make sure that you're not depleting everything. And so there's just a balance with it. And so there's a lot of really good supplement packets that you can put in your water. Simply just put salt in your water as well if you don't mind the taste. I personally don't mind the taste. I squeeze a little bit of lemon in it and I think it's great. So those are all the places that I would go to plan and put together a good plan so that it's just a matter of execution. Like this is reasonably speaking pretty easy. It's pretty nuts and bolts. But this is where I see women get so overwhelmed because they try to make this plan so massive, so huge, and it doesn't need to be. It just needs to be very foundational. And then this is where a lot of our brains go is, well, it's not, this isn't as sexy as I thought it was going to be, or it seems too simple. And I'm like, hey, simple works, but you've got to execute. You've got to execute on a consistent basis. And so the last step in really, conquering your overwhelm and kickstarting better health is you got to have accountability. You got to have accountability, coaching, and support. And it's best if this is not a family member. It's best if it's not someone close to you, because sometimes you have to have tough conversations. Sometimes you need someone to call you out and say, hey, girl, you're not doing what you said you're going to do. What's going on? And it's really important to have a coach who can be there beside you, help, answer questions along the way so that you can just move forward. And I always add the word powerfully because it doesn't have to be forever. Like that is what's always so interesting to me on a health and wellness journey. And this is coming from someone who self-proclaimed that I couldn't lose. Hormones were jacked. And I had put 26 pounds on my body and I quote unquote couldn't lose until I finally got my head out of my you-know-what and was real with myself. And I was like, hey, you're drinking too much, you're eating too much, working out like a crazy, not sleeping. And once I was able to really step back and assess myself, it wasn't so overwhelming. And I'll be honest, when I first really started getting after taking care of myself again, I did less. Less was more. I fell in love with walking. I actually pulled back from resistance training to then add it back in. And I really got in tune with my food and I had to get real with myself. I didn't need to be having bags of popcorn every night. I didn't need to make a big old pot on the stove because I told myself that was healthier, right? So it's important to call yourself out, but it really stepping back and assessing. And I'm not kidding you. Within that first month, I had lost 10 pounds. And this was the person who was saying, I can't wait. And I see this time and time again in my coaching program. And so that's what I want to offer up to you here today is if you're listening to this and you're going, man, I get what she's saying, but that's a lot. I got a lot on my plate. This is too much. What I want you to do is I want you to reach out. hit me up on any social medias. Just Arin, spelled Arin. Lindauer is Lindauer, and reach out to me. I offer a really awesome coaching program where I'm going to take all the guesswork out of this plan, and then I'll help you execute. I'm going to help you execute this when life happens, because this is something that none of us acknowledge. Life is not going to be perfect. You're not going to just wake up and never have a challenge ever again because decide to get your health in order. Here's what I can do is I can help you handle those challenges with grace, still stay on plan. So I hope you've enjoyed this content and seen how, okay, we can objectively step through. Now, if I've overwhelmed you even more, you got to reach out, because this is something where I can come in, I can make this super simple for you. I'll get you really organized in a very nice app that will then have a daily checklist, and there's no guesswork. You know exactly what to do, and we'll tweak, modify every inch of the way. All right, ladies, let's go get them. Let's stop the overwhelm, okay? Don't need an overhaul, just need some things, but we gotta assess and understand where you are, and let's really kickstart some better health. Got it. Take care.